IoT security fail. Employees are connecting to the office network, and that's not a great thing. Danny Palmer here to tell us a little bit more about this. Let us know what we need to be talking to employees about to keep safe. Danny, let's start first, particularly what type of IoT devices are most commonly being connected to the network?
Well, according to this research paper by researchers at cybersecurity company Zscaler, more and more IoT devices are being connected to enterprise networks, more and more traffic is being generated, and a lot of these are things that you and I might use on a day-to-day basis, things like smartwatches, things like fitness trackers, things like applications which connect to home IP cameras, which transfer data from your smartphone back to your camera at home, say if it's watching the pets or your house while you're at work. All of these things are being connected to enterprise networks because, as many people like to do, these things generate data. A lot of people were using mobile data plans, which may not allow them to use lots of data. So connecting to an office Wi-Fi network allows them to use it more. While that's convenient for the users, this can potentially bring in problems for the employer, the business who they work for.
And you know, Danny, we talk a lot about cybersecurity, of course, and IoT is one of the areas that we're talking more and more about as we open ourselves up even more, our homes and our offices, to the outside world with these devices. So, what specifically are they seeing that's starting to happen now as criminals are making their way into the network?
One of the main problems, according to this research paper, is that a lot of these IoT devices are transmitting data in plain text channels, unlike websites which transfer data using secure certificates. Because the IoT ecosystem isn't quite as advanced yet, this data being transferred in plain text is causing problems. For example, someone could be using their say generic smartwatch that could be taking those corporate network credentials which are entered, to connect to the network, and transferring it elsewhere when being used to connect to something else. Let's say, for example, that that smartwatch is also connected to a phone, which is being used to monitor the pets at home. In theory, attackers could access that data using various penetration testing tools, things which are easily available online, some which are used for legitimate cybersecurity reasons. They could take this, sniff the passwords and usernames, and use that as an entry point to gain access to the network themselves, because these IoT devices, if they're not secured properly, are creating a backdoor. And if the attackers are able to get through that backdoor onto the corporate network itself, that could cause additional problems. I mean, they could potentially move laterally onto systems like computers, printers, that sort of thing, and gain more and more access to the network, which it could spin up basically to allow them to steal information, login credentials, all sorts of information from the corporate network, which is not going to be good for the business at all, especially if personal data is being handled. So it has the potential to create a lot of big problems for businesses if this isn't managed properly.
All right, well, and that leads us to the obvious next question. How do you manage it properly?
I suppose the simple thing would be to say to your employees, don't connect these things to the network. But in 2020, with everything being so online and so connected, that's increasingly difficult. I mean, you probably wouldn't tell someone you can't bring your smartphone to work. So they're going to act the same way when it comes to a smart watch. What you could do is try and ensure that your staff are if they are using these devices, that the usernames and passwords on the devices aren't the default ones which come with the products when they're out the box, because that will allow a large barrier for attackers to actually get onto the device, because if it just has a basic password like admin username password as the password, that's going to be an easy target. While if they've got their own username, their own complex password, that's going to make it harder for attackers to sniff the password of the device. And I suppose something a corporate network could do if they are really committed to ensuring that IoT devices can't be used as an entry point onto the network is provide your employees with a separate network which is just for their IoT devices. Don't have it connected to the rest of your corporate network, your servers, your computers, your smartphones, your tablets. If you have a network just for IoT devices, even if an attacker gets on there, it's still going to be bad for the IoT devices, obviously, but it's not going to provide a gateway to the rest of the corporate network, which will go a long way to ensuring that your corporate data is protected from the attackers, at least when it comes to attackers entering the network in that way.
All right, we're certainly more connected than ever, but that's not always a great thing, Danny. We certainly appreciate your insight on this. And for much more, make sure you check out Danny's full article there on ZDNet.